Professional growth is a core part of every job, and we all want to be better at what we do. But traditional performance management processes aren't cutting it. And even giving feedback regularly, while it's important, isn't going to get us where we want to go. There's actually more we can do, and today's guest is joining us to share how her company has made growth an essential part of the employee experience. Carissa Reiniger is the founder and CEO of Silver Lining, a company with a mission to change the global economy one small business at a time. Silver Lining is an advocate for economic justice and believes that small business is a fundamental element of creating a more just global economy. They work with small business owners from all backgrounds and have the data to prove that when you give anyone, regardless of their demographic details, equal access and opportunity, they can succeed. Now, before I dive in, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I share new episodes and other tips for managers every week. Now, here's the conversation with Carissa. Thank you so much for joining me today, Carissa. I'm so excited to have you back on the show. I think you were one of my very first guests when I started.
Many years ago.
Oh my gosh. Yes. And you have just been doing such incredible work. And I'm excited for you to share the way that you're running Silver Lining and some of the practices you have on the inside, because you're just like a rock star manager you're just like at the top of your game. And I love getting to hear your stories. And I'm so excited that you're here to share them with my audience.
That's very kind of you. You'd have to ask my staff if they agree with you, but that's a different story.
I still remember the story you told me about making your entire global team watch The Greatest Showman at the same time for your virtual holiday party. And any manager who does that is like at the top of my list. So,
It was fabulous, for the record. It was a highlight.
All right. Well, today we're actually going to talk about how you have embedded professional development into the fabric of your organization. So before I try to make up more, why don't you just tell us at the high level, what are you doing and then what inspired you to do it?
Yeah. So yes, we have a very robust process, which we call the SBAP process, which is the company's called Silver Lining. And we call it Silver Belt Action Plans, like the idea that you could get a silver belt in working at Silver Lining. And the idea is that instead of it being about a performance review, it's about this idea of performance optimization. And so we do a full, what other companies would call 360. We do a full 360 process every 6 months. Our full-time people team probably spend 4 months a year just managing this 360 process. It's a huge investment of company time and resources, but every single person in the company gets feedback from their peers, their downline reports if they have them, and then their boss and their boss's boss. So there's multiple layers of feedback. The feedback comes in the form of like a survey, but there's a room and opportunity for conversation. So if anyone feels like they really want to talk to someone to give them encouragement or to resolve a conflict, we try to make sure there's open space for all those real necessary conversations to get sparked. And the idea is that in these 360s, in these surveys, we're looking at the full human. So we're looking at your day-to-day behaviors. Do they show up on time? Are they reliable? Do you feel like they're participating in chat? Are you connecting with them just in their basic ways of being together? We do a values check. So everyone gives feedback on their connection to our company values. Then we do a behaviors check. Are they doing what you think they need to do for the company to succeed and their part in it to succeed? And then a results check. Are they effectively delivering results for the individual, the team they're on, and the company? And then we take all that feedback, we put it into a custom report for each individual person. They get a chance to read it before the meetings. And then every human at Silver Lining gets a meeting with their direct manager and one person from the people team and them. So like a triangle of support. And the goal is to review the information, but more importantly, to discuss what to do about it. Are there things that we really want to celebrate? We want to call out, we want to be excited about, and really celebrate the good. And then out of the feedback and the areas for improvement, every single person on the team sets one professional development goal for the next 6 months. That's their action plan. And then we invest company resources to get them the combination of training, mentorship, outside support, inside support that we need for them to get in order for them to hopefully accomplish their own personal goals.
So incredible. Hence why I was like, Carissa's the best.
Our philosophy is that for the company to succeed, we need all the teams to succeed. For the teams to succeed, we need the individuals to succeed. And so you can't just sort of sit at a high level and say, let's drive these KPIs as a CEO. I need every human to succeed in order for the company to succeed, the collective, and also wouldn't it be an honor to run a company where people come and they actually get better? Every 6 months they're getting better as humans. Like that's a gift I'd love to give the people that I get to work with. And so it's really this like relationship between individual performance and collective performance and how we drive them together very intentionally.
When did you start this process?
The company is almost 20 years old, which is crazy. And we've been doing it for probably 14 of these last 20 years consistently. I think we've gotten much better at it thanks to my people team, not me. In the last 5 years, I think we've really escalated how we're using it and how effective it is. We've been doing it for a long time. It's been a deep part of our ethos for a very long time.
Let's actually dive into some of the details, because you said you have a whole people team that spends 4 months a year doing this, and that's a lot of time. So can you kind of walk us through the timeline of from okay, we're starting, this is round 1 for 2025. What happens between then and the completion of that feedback and decision of what the action items are?
So we do them in February and August. So we run the company in 6-month sprints, we call them, where we set targets for our collective growth that we hit by the end of June and the end of December. And then the SBAPs, the 360s, happen shortly thereafter, so that we're also not just doing it in a bubble. It's not just, well, did Carissa perform or not? It's, well, did the company perform or not? And then how do we step back and look at, well, did the teams perform or not? And then did the individuals? So there's context wrapped in it. One of the things we're trying to teach our team all the time is maybe you're a star performer and you need to be rewarded for that. But if the company overall didn't have a good 6 months, we probably can't give raises, right? So we're trying to show the relationship between an individual, a team, and company's performance so that everyone sees that you can't separate one from the other. You can't be an ego-driven individual performer that thinks that you deserve everything if the collective that you're a part of isn't succeeding. And you can't build a collective that succeeds if the individuals aren't performing. And so how do you, as top-line managers, mid-level managers, and individuals, take collective responsibility for performance of the whole structure, every part of it? So what happens first is we end our 6-month sprint at the end of December and the end of June, and we basically do a town hall with the staff to report out. We're tracking our progress on our goals publicly, so we all know what's happening, but we have a conversation about how we did in that 6-month sprint collectively as a company. And then each team does a debrief about how they did in that last 6 months. And they sort of do self-reflection, self-analysis. And then I do a 1-week retreat with my executive team, we call them the MDRI team, the most directly responsible individuals. We go offline for 5 days. We sit in a room and we say, okay, what happened in the last 6 months? What's good? What can we build on? What was not good? What do we have to change? And based on that, what are our objectives for the next 6 months? And then we do the 360s. So the 360s are happening in the context of collective performance, team performance, and then sort of MDRI shared reflection, review, and planning for what's to come. And then we release basically these surveys. So we've got a template. We update the template every time we do it just because we learn more and it gets better. But we've got this very detailed template. And the first step is to send it to everyone. So they do their self-reflection, but then everyone gets a combination of 8 to 12 assessments for other people, their bosses, their peers, their reports. And everyone has a 2-week period of time to basically fill in all their surveys, all their results. As any good manager knows, you spend a lot of that 2 weeks chasing people to actually do what they need to do. So our people team very diligently makes sure that everyone's feedback is accounted for. They're amazing at that. One little very practical tip. On the last 2 days, we do body double sessions where we literally have Zoom rooms open, and people who have not submitted their forms actually get invited into that non-negotiable room to finish them. So we're creating space for the expectation that there will be non-engagement or people will get busy or distracted, and we just make sure it gets done. Once that 2-week period closes, there's a 2-week period where everyone then gets the sort of curated reports. And so the individual and their boss gets the report that is the collective feedback from everybody. And in that moment, in the survey and the self-reflection, the team member also gets to say if they would like a raise or a promotion, if they think they've deserved it based on individual, team, collective success. So they've got context, they understand the full picture, and they can basically advocate for themselves in that. All the managers review each individual. The managers then have a 1-week period to review all the feedback, the requests, the things, the thinking. And then the MDRI team works with the people team to put together basically a suggested report of anyone who might deserve a raise or a promotion, and we pre-decide that before the meetings happen. And then any other issues that may be coming up. They present that to me as a CEO. I review it and we agree on themes, budgets. We basically pre-agree on all the decisions that we want to make based on this collective body of work. And then we start a 4-week process of meetings. And there's just basically meetings happening all day long, every day between these triangles of the team member, their manager, and a member of the people team to have the conversations, to build the action plans. And then once all those meetings are done, the people team spends the next 2 weeks basically setting up whatever support each individual needs based on what came out of the SBAPs. That's the process. It takes about, beginning to end, it takes about 2 months. But it's important. The most important thing I think to note is the context it sits within, which is it's sitting sort of right after this 6-month sprint ends. And we have had time to evaluate what worked and didn't work company wide and then try to translate that down into the individual.
Yeah. And I heard the other piece of the context that is so important is you've also decided where you're headed for the next 6 months, because what someone needs to learn or grow might be more relevant to how their role is shifting based on the new vision and the kind of work ahead, and maybe less on what they did last 6 months.
Exactly. And to that's a really important part, because we have this conversation with our staff all the time. Promotions don't happen because you've been doing something for a long time. And they may not even happen because you had 6 months of good performance. There's a lot of context to hold. You know, if your skill set is X, but the goals for the next 6 months are Y, even if you're a high performer, it's not the right time to promote you because your skill set of X won't support the goals. And we're actually going to set you up to fail. Why would we do that to you? Let's wait 6 more months and let's see what happens, you know? Or if someone is a star performer, but they have no management experience, a topic you're very passionate about, and I share and I've learned a lot from you on, well, jumping to being a manager is maybe not the right solution. Maybe shadow a manager for the next 6 months and get to the point where you're really ready for that promotion if that's what you want 6 months from now. So the other thing about doing it every 6 months actually is I find that our team is much more open to having very honest conversations. If you feel like you're going to wait for your next chance to get a promotion or a raise to like 3 years from now, you're urgent about it. You're going to fight. But if you know that there's another chance every 6 months, you can actually step back and maybe even ask, like, am I really ready for this? Is this really the right decision for me? We also give everyone, if we're willing to offer them a promotion or a raise, we give them the chance to decline it and wait for 6 months from now. If they think that they're going to be so high contributing for the next 6 months that they're going to get a better promotion or a raise in the next cycle. So they can decline the promotion or a raise and basically advocate for more in 6 months as well.
And if you've accepted a raise or a promotion, does that make you ineligible for another for a certain period of time?
You only get one a year maximum. So if you take it, you're ineligible the next 6 months. But it creates agency for the team members. They're not sitting there waiting for us to bestow upon them something. They're engaged in the process of their professional development. Is now the right time for me? I really want it, but you know what? In 6 months, I'll be better for it and I'll be able to advocate for more. Or the company's going in this direction. That's not my skill set. Maybe I need a different job than I thought I needed, right? And so it creates these very, I would say we have very honest conversations, which I think are incredibly helpful.
I have so many more questions, but a couple of things just quickly. One, how many people are we talking about here in your company, and how many people are on your people team?
60 full-time staff and 3 full-time people team. So our ratio is 1-20. In all of our scaling and all of our growth projections, we account for keeping this system in place. We're very dedicated to our people. And so we'll need to scale our people team at a much higher proportion than other companies do. But that is an investment we're prepared to make. It's in our financial model.
It's amazing you're doing this with so many people too. It's just incredible. Yeah. Okay. I'm just like imagining someone listening being like, oh, it's great when you do that for like 12 people, but like, this is a big company.
We're doing it.
Okay. So then second kind of question related, right, is you're a global company. So you have team members in like 30 some countries?
Yeah, we have customers in 77 countries and staff in 26 countries, every continent except for Antarctica.
And do you do anything differently for folks in different countries, or is the system kind of straight across the board?
It's 100% the same for everybody. So we have no in-person offices. All of this is done remotely. Our team is remote, but fully committed and fully connected. That's sort of our way of thinking of it. They're not freelancers. They're full-time team members. And, you know, doing business globally with so many different personalities, cultural contexts, religions, backgrounds, Wi-Fi capabilities. Our team is as diverse as is humanly possible, quite literally. One of the things that I just think is so important to remember is we spend so much time thinking about how we're different as humans, but actually also we are so similar as humans. What all of our staff want is a good job, fair pay, the chance to grow and develop, the chance to be better, to believe that someone cares about them. And so we have not had to iterate in any way, shape, or form our process for the diversity of our team.
That's amazing. And also like really true. Humans are humans.
We're humans. We want to do good work. We want to know how to be better. We want to get rewarded. I mean, we're so similar when it comes down to the basics.
All right, let's talk about the conversation that happens and the planning of support. Because I think, even just in general, when managers give feedback and we have these kind of performance conversations or just general feedback conversations, there's always the like, okay, so what, right? So what do we do with this? So can you tell us a little bit more about, one, how those conversations flow, and how do you keep people from getting really defensive? Like, I'm imagining like once you've been through this process and you've done it a couple of times, you're like, oh, this is so easy. But if you're new to the team, it might feel a little prickly to be part of a 360 when you're like 6 months into your job. So kind of how do you make those conversations flow? And then I want to talk more about the setting up of the support systems.
Yeah, I think it's a really good point. I mean, a lot of people join Silver Lining and the things that maybe you or I think make it so special, people feel overwhelmed by it. I mean, that's an important thing to know, because in exchange for us giving so much to people, we expect so much back, right? It's a very open culture. We have hard conversations. We're always talking about growth. It's not a place you come and like clock in, clock out and like live your best life. That's not the culture at Silver Lining at all. So in exchange for all this deep investment in people, they do have to become open to their own ongoing growth and development. It's a company where you don't come and stay. It's a company where you come and you grow. And so that can feel very counterculture to most people who have worked in almost any other environment. So it's worth noting that it's not all easy. Like sometimes people are overwhelmed by it. Sometimes people think it's like creepy that we want to talk about their growth so much. Like, there's a lot of almost like behavior change that we need to do depending on the culture or the context that people come to us from. So that is worth saying out loud. In terms of the conversations themselves, this is why we always have a people team member there. They facilitate the conversation. So we've learned that no matter how amazing our managers are, and we spend a lot of time and money trying to help them be amazing, including hiring you, which we should do again soon. No matter how much they care, how good they are, how much we train them, getting into those conversations and delivering hard feedback is basically almost impossible for 99% of people in the world. It's really hard. And so the people team is there to make sure that sort of the truth is revealed. The other thing that's so important, especially in hard conversations, because this survey, the written document has been delivered in advance, everyone's read it. We think that's really important. No one's coming to the meeting having a surprise conversation. Everyone is coming knowing what's going to happen. We're going to talk about the good. We're going to talk about the areas of improvement. If there's a really bad issue, we're going to talk about that. We're going to make a plan. So there's a lot of prep work we do to sort of prepare people for how to have the conversation. We do 2 trainings before every SBAP season with the whole staff to just normalize it and to talk about it, to try to make sure people feel comfortable with it. We train the managers. We do manager training every 6 months. We redo manager training to get them ready to have the conversations they need to have, to think about how to do it. And then the people team are in the room facilitating conversations. So there's a lot that we do to try to tee up those conversations going well. And even then, they don't all go well. I've had so many stories of someone got a promotion that we never agreed to and they didn't deserve because the manager basically folded in the meeting, or, something that was really hard that had to be addressed sort of didn't. It got delayed and we had to go back and do it again. It's fraught. There's a lot of issues that come out of it. But the big thing is the preparation, the no surprises, a third-party facilitator of the conversation. And every year, I would say 2 SBAPs really don't go well. Like 2 of those meetings don't go well. So let's call it a ratio of like 1 in 30. And so then we do them again. We escalate it. We bring in, if they don't go well, we do it again. But we bring in the manager's boss and the most senior level person of our people team. So we basically like escalate the level of seniority in the conversation to create more support to do it as well as possible if there was some conflict that emerged or something really went wrong.
I love it. You don't just let it go. It's just like, oh, well, we'll do it again in 6 months. It's like, no, we have to get this right. We did it for a reason.
My team would argue I let nothing go. For better and mostly for worse, they would say.
All right, let's talk about the support process. And you said it takes about 2 weeks to like set up the support. How do you allocate financials, like resources to folks? How do you help them find the right resources, mentors, programs? Kind of how does that all unfold?
So we have a template of course, that every team member gets at the end of their SBAP, where they are encouraged to basically take all the lessons and learnings and all the agreements made during the call and put it into this one-page plan, which is, it literally takes them 4 minutes if they do it. Who are you? What do you want to work on? Checklist of the things that you're going to get support around, any requests you have. And we put the onus of responsibility on the team member to complete that form and submit it to our people team. The reason for that is in behavior design, which you know a lot about too, if someone's not committed to the change, it is a waste of time, money, and energy to try to, you cannot change anyone that is not interested in their own change. So the first step is they prompt that support. We don't spend time and money and energy on someone who doesn't submit that form, because even if they need it, it won't help them. It's also very telling who does it and who doesn't. So it's a really, really obvious way for me to see who's self-guided, who's responsible, who's committed to growth. And that has a very big impact on who I choose to elevate in the company over time or give more responsibility to. Once they submit it, the rule of the people team is basically an unlimited budget within reason. That's how we talk about it every 6 months, guys. It's an unlimited budget within reason. Get them what they need. If someone is willing to fill out that form, ask for support, identify what they need, we're going to meet them where they're at and give it everything they've got. So it's always a combination of training courses, which we could pay for, outside mentors. We might activate people in our community that we think could be particularly good for them. So we match make them to really good mentors, really detailed coaching. We could give them a paid coach if they think that they need a very, very specific thing they need to work on. And then we have a chaplain at Silver Lining. So sometimes they need more support with life matters, philosophical issues, trauma that's unprocessed. That would be like a therapist or our chaplain. And then we have 2 in-house coaches. So 2 people on our team are certified as coaches. And so sometimes they just need to go into weekly or monthly coaching with our people team just to get some rhythm and structure into their life. So depending on what it is they're trying to work on, a skill, an attitude, a behavior, a habit, we sort of help them build the plan they need. And then we have unlimited budget within reason to tap into all those resources.
Okay. What about the ongoing accountability to their plan then? Are they kind of, assuming that it's not like weekly coaching where there's accountability built in, is it now kind of, all right, go off, do your growth, and we'll check in again in our next 360? Or is there something else between?
So it's up to them. And again, that is very telling. So they have the option to do a weekly coaching call with someone from our people team, a monthly coaching call with someone from our people team, or no coaching calls with someone from our people team. And those are really accountability calls against this plan they've created. So they choose it. Most of them choose a monthly coaching call, to their credit. Some more than you'd think choose a weekly coaching call. People who are really committed to their growth, they really double down. And the thing that's so exciting is you see the results of that. If someone has submitted their SBAP form, they're doing all the things they said they wanted, they're doing weekly coaching with our people team. You start to see the acceleration of their growth so fast. It's so beautiful to witness it. So we really, again, we defer to them. We follow them. And I would say, 5% of people probably never do what they said they wanted to do. That's very telling. And part of what we look at in the next SBAP cycle 6 months from now is their behavior from the previous 6 months. So there is this accountability that's built in to say we wouldn't fire someone for not, being proactive with their growth. But it would certainly be a factor if they want a phrase or a promotion, right? It would certainly be a factor in how we view their potential for growth, because the only way to grow in seniority is to actually have the ability to grow as a human, because you have to have, increased capacity, skill, and, mental fitness. And so it's definitely a lead indicator of their future at Silver Lining. It's not cause for dismissal. We're very clear with them. It doesn't affect your salary, but it does give us a view on if you're someone we can rely on to grow with the business.
Anything else about this process that you want to share that you think is unique or special, or tips if we were like, we want to do this with our team?
So I think the biggest thing that we keep learning this lesson because we keep failing at this. And so is just setting as many expectations up front as possible. For example, we had a hard 6 months, the first 6 months of 2024. I think like everyone in the world, budgets got cut. We had a tough 6 months. And so when we went into the August SBAPs, we didn't give anyone promotions or raises. We basically said, let's hold our cash flow. Let's settle the system down. Let's see what happens in this US elect. Let's just pause for a minute, protect our cash reserves. And we said it a couple of times to the team, but I don't think I did a good enough. It was a flaw in my leadership to not really have a town hall before the SBAPs and really talk about things in a really like an even more transparent way. And so we had more friction in the SBAPs in August than we typically do because of that. There's been a couple of instances where people went into having really hard conversations about performance during the SBAPs, and the employee felt like it was like new news to them, right? And that's a breakdown of the manager having honest conversations all the time and not just waiting for the SBAP to happen. So I think the number one tip I would say is to be as transparent as possible all the time, not wait for the SBAPs. The SBAPs are these like wonderful moments of just divine clarity across the whole system, but they really should be the culmination of all the conversations and truths that have been happening between them at this 6-month rigor. So ridiculously transparent communication, lots of expectation setting, and having all the conversations that you eventually have in the SBAP every day leading up to it, but using it as sort of like a stake in the ground to either nail decisions or plans or truths or good or celebration, as opposed to it being the only place people are getting feedback.
Last question before we wrap up.
Yes.
Do you also get a 360?
Of course I do. It is complicated because it's hard to figure out who I report to. So who's in the room is complicated. But actually it's something that I thought about. In August, we were so busy that we really didn't do my SBAP as transparently as I thought we should. So I got the feedback, but I basically just read the report. There was no meeting around it. And so something that I actually will be implementing this next round is a team-wide review of my SBAP. So just a chance for technically, I report to everybody at Silver Lining. And so my SBAP review will be fit the whole company.
I love that. Whenever I do 360s with managers, I always tell them that you need to figure out what you're going to share back with your team about what you heard. With your boss, if you're not the boss, and with your team, like you need to process and then share back and reflect and then make your commitments about how you're going to change and grow and what you need from people to be able to do that effectively. So I love it. You're like, yes, everyone here is actually my boss. I report to
everyone
all of you.
Is my boss. I mean, that's really the truth. And I think that again, just a little side note, we don't call our management team the leadership team or the executive team. They're the MDRI team, which is the most directly responsible individual. And so it's this idea, like, and even when we talk about people wanting promotions or raises, we always say, it's not an increase in power. It's an increase in responsibility. And are you ready for it? And do you want it? Are you sure? Because it is not better and faster and fancier. It is harder and there's more burden and there's more pressure. And so a lot of what we're looking at and looking for, and the reason why we look so deeply at how they handled their own personal growth, is that we see so clearly that someone's emotional intelligence, their capacity to grow, their capacity to handle sustained pressure, their capacity to continue to evolve as their job responsibilities evolve is the most defining characteristic of someone that succeeds in a promotion. If they think that they're a rock star and they've got it all figured out, and even if they are a rock star and they do have it all figured out at the job they've already been doing, that is not the condition of someone ready for a promotion. That's the condition of someone that's a star performer who should keep being a star performer, doing the job they're oh so good at. We're really dedicated to, and this whole process is deeply steeped in the idea of responsibility. You are responsible for your individual performance, which then has a deep impact on your team and the collective, and you are responsible for your personal growth. We will help you, but you show us that you're ready. And as your capacity for responsibility grows, so too will your title and your compensation.
Yes, yes, yes. Okay. Where can people learn more about you and what Silver Lining is all about?
So it's smallbizsilverlining.com. That's our website. If you're a small business watching and you want to learn about SLAP, our small business growth program, you can go to slapcenter.com. If you want to learn about working at Silver Lining, you go to smallbizsilverlining.com/careers. And if you find us online, we're really transparent about our email addresses and our phone numbers. So you're welcome to reach out to us anytime.
Amazing. Thank you so, so much, Carissa. I always love learning about the things that you're doing inside Silver Lining because it's just fabulous.
Thank you for having me. And I really mean this. One of the biggest challenges as we grow Silver Lining is building that middle management group. It really is very, very hard, even in the context of this conversation, to help someone move from being an individual performer to a manager of other people. It's the hardest jump we see people make. And so I say that just to say that I think this podcast and your work is so critical and so important, and I'm grateful for it. I think it's really, really important, and I have benefited from it. So thank you.
Oh, thank you.